Welcome to the Twist News. I'm Erika Grey. Deutsche Welle out of Germany is a major network, a major news program. And normally their broadcasting is excellent. And it's a step above other news broadcasts because it's so informative. But there's a particular video out titled How Global Trade Killed the Liberal World Economy. And in it, they talk about President Donald Trump as if this is the fact about President Donald Trump. So since you're on the channel that deals with EU versus US, I'm going to play clips from this video and we're going to discuss them, or I'm going to discuss them. And I want you to see the viewpoint of Donald Trump, of President Donald Trump across the Atlantic. And this is out of a major news network out of Germany. So I'm not going to tell you what it says. You're going to have to take a listen. So here goes.
We are at a turning point. The United States, the most powerful country in the world, the one that for decades took on the role of promoting democracy, is turning autocratic. The change.
Let's start there. So according to the broadcaster, autocratic is According to the broadcaster, the United States is turning autocratic, which means relating to a ruler who has absolute power. So I want you to think of that in terms of US President Donald Trump. Autocratic, absolute power. Now, those of you within the United States knows that US President Donald Trump does not have absolute power. Let's take the list. Let's take more of a listen.
We are at a turning point. The United States, the most powerful country in the world, the one that for decades took on the role of promoting democracy, is turning autocratic. The change. We are at a turning point. The United States, the most powerful country in the world, the one that for decades took on the role of promoting democracy, is turning autocratic. The change may feel like it's come very suddenly, but the balance of power. The one that for decades took on the role of promoting democracy is turning autocratic.
Okay, so she cites a few articles here. Hundreds of scholars say U.S. is swiftly heading towards authoritarianism. Trump ramps up lawlessness with plan to ignore Supreme Court ruling. The authoritarian playbook. Trump targets judges, lawyers, and law itself. Now, is there some aspects of truth in this? There is some smidgens of truth in this because of the certain decisions that Donald Trump is making, but he is not autocratic. He just is not. There is still the balance of powers in the United States.
We are at a turning point. The United States enabling the rise of authority, the one that for decades took on the role of promoting democracy, is turning autocratic. The change may feel like it's come very suddenly, but the balance of power on the world stage has been quietly shifting for decades, enabling the rise of authoritarian leaders and the decline of liberalism as a guiding force. Economics, more than politics, has been the driving force.
You know, you got to really look at what she is. She's got Viktor Orban there of Hungary. Viktor Orban, Hungary is a member of the European Union. So they've got Hungary as autocratic. Xi Jinping, US President Trump is thrown in with China.
We are at a turning point. Economics, more than politics, has been the driving force. In this video, we'll unpack what we mean by the liberal world order, how the institutions created to sustain it ultimately undermined it, and why ballooning trade failed in its promise to spread democracy. Finally, we'll ask, what next? The seeds of what we mean by the liberal world order are in this document, the Atlantic Charter.
So in the broadcast, she goes on to discuss the liberal world order and what it means and what's happening. But it's the beginning of this video that labels US President Donald Trump as an autocrat is a prevailing opinion within the European Union. And he is being called an autocrat not only by journalists at DW, at Deutsche Welle, but also from certain EU leaders. The United States is not an autocratic country. It's not an autocracy. It is a democracy. Now, is it questionable that Trump is pushing the envelope? Is he pushing the envelope? The envelope is being pushed in certain areas, but it still is not an autocratic, it's not an autocracy. It is not. It is still a democracy. It's not the same brand of democracy as the European Union. Their brand of democracy takes any kind of conservative idea or conservative social idea and calls it undemocratic. Whereas in the United States, they would look at the imposition of liberal social ideas on a society as being not just liberal, socialist, but also smacks of communist type of or old world communism in forcing its ideas onto the people, and the people need to adhere to that idea. And that's essentially what their brand of democracy is doing. But I wanted to just highlight this because Donald Trump is actually viewed as a dictator. That's right, a dictator. That's essentially what an autocrat is. And he's not a dictator. Again, are there areas where he is pushing the envelope? Yes. But for the most part, he is ruling within the United States democratic system with its checks and balances. And I think that it's the extremists who take a little bit of what may seem like truth or what may smack of autocracy and then balloon it so that he's now this dictator like Kim Jong-un of North Korea, which is anything but the truth. And they're lumping him in with Xi Jinping, which isn't fair. But he is not an autocrat. But that's how he's being viewed in the European Union, as an autocrat, because their version of democracy is actually to the left, so far to the left that it borders on communism, their brand of democracy. And maybe Donald Trump's conservative policies are bordering more to the right, so he's being called authoritarianism. He's being called an autocrat and also a fascist. But that's the extreme. But then again, in the European Union, they're calling Giorgia Meloni a far-right extremist. And I've hung out with her political party. It is anything but far-right extreme. It's not at all. It's really more middle of the road. But the conservatives in Europe are such a minority, and compared to the liberals. So I just wanted to highlight Deutsche Welle, this very good news channel out of Germany. And what this broadcast is doing is painting U.S. President Trump as an autocrat who's now upsetting the liberal world order, when actually, if we look at globalization, there are protectionist decisions on the part of the European Union. There were protectionist decisions in Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act. So this whole idea of the erosion of globalism possibly coming from one person is erroneous. And also, they're eroding it because they have some very protectionist policy. So at the end of the day, it's every empire for themselves. And Donald Trump is now like on the bandwagon with the European Union and India and others looking out for the United States. Well, this has been Erika Grey of the Twist News. If you don't subscribe, definitely hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more.